In sandblasting, we have three main media which we use to sandblast with, which is the premium glass beads, the crushed glass, and the garnet. The garnet is the cheapest and the most popular one. It has a sharp edge. It is good, similar to crushed glass. It has sharp edging, which is they're both similar in the way that they leave a keyed surface, which is good for etching, which means that you can sort of spray paint or paint on top of it quite easily because you've got an etched surface. The actual glassed bead is a bit different because the glass bead is a round sphere, so it is actually peening the surface. It's more suitable for things like aluminium, like carburetors, which would be just cleaned and maybe wouldn't have any coating or that painted onto them, engine case for motorbikes, all that sort of stuff that needs a sort of a smooth surface. There are many ways to do sandblasting. The cheapest and most economical are your handheld units. Then you can go up to a tub or a bucket type setup. That's a pressurized container, this setup. The other one is non-pressurized, but it's just like a big feeder system. And in the workshop, you can go from the small to the medium and large size cabinets. That's a specialized one. That's a spot blaster. As you can see, it has a catch bag in the bottom where you set your grit or whatever you're using goes into. This bit actually goes right against the surface. It will sandblast the surface of, say, a rivet or something like that. You push it right over. The sand is cycled inside this head and then comes back into here. Different shapes head for different applications, corners, elbows, flats, edges, that sort of stuff. Then you go up to the smaller unit, which is a gravity feed. We usually have another gravity feed one there, which has got a tap and that on it, which is a bit bigger. This one's a bucket type setup, fairly old fashioned. Has a tendency to get blocked up quite easily. Then you've got Airboy, who have a sand blaster, which we're out of at the moment, but they also have a soda blaster for soda. That's a different application. SP, sandblasting in a bucket, in a small gun or a suction setup. This is a more commercial type unit. There is a pressure pot system, which is a small pressure pot. There are many that are bigger than this, but this one is a sort of an economical small business one to do smaller areas. Same thing, but not pressurized, only chipping your product into the top, and it's got the gun, etc., everything, and it's on wheels. The other ones, both of those are on wheels to be portable. From there we have small bench topper. Not that good, but they do the job. That recycles the sand inside the cabinet. It's got a little V in the bottom to collect the sand, and it's got a pickup and that, and a gun all internal with a lamp. Most of these have lamps internally. Hands go in there, which are completely sealed with the gloves. The whole thing is sealed. You have internally, we can have a look inside. Internally, lamp, gloves, pickup. This is more of a pyramid sort of style setup, so that means that you can pick up the sand out of the bottom and sandblast. And this one has a film on the inside for protecting the screen, your perspex and that, so you don't damage all the glass. The bigger ones have the film on the inside, may also have film covering the lamp internally. But the bigger one has an advantage that they do actually have their own dust extraction system. They also have the big one also has the advantage it's got opens at the side, and the top can also open. That's the dust extraction system, which is all part of the big unit. So that bolts onto the back, and then you have your dust extraction system to try to keep the dust down. The smaller ones, you have to add your own dust. If you go to this one, the intermediate one, you have to have your own dust system to try and keep the dust down, because as the sand gets dirty, all the dust and that's all the dirt off whatever the paint, etc., rust starts floating around the atmosphere inside the container. It makes it difficult to see. Air consumption. It's a concern when you're doing sandblasting because most of these bigger machines like this will use about 20 CFM of free air delivered. That's 100 psi. So that means that while you've got your trigger down, that's how much it's using. So if you want to sandblast continuously, you need a 20 CFM compressor, which is like 7.5 horsepower 3-phase. Now, if you're just at home and that, you might only have a single phase compressor, maybe something like a T20 of that. You can use a T20, but what's going to happen, you're going to be continually waiting for the air to catch up because you're using more air than the compressor can replace. So this type of machine here, it would run for a while, then you would have to wait for the air to replenish itself and start again is the easiest way, because what's happening, the pressure drops, then the volume drops, and it just wouldn't be efficiently working. So to run it continuously, you need at least 20 CFM, and that's for this or these here. So the smaller units, because you're only doing intermittent, it's not really a problem. But anything that's doing large areas or big areas, especially these types of things where you might be doing a large area, you just have to keep waiting for it to catch up with the air. Because most of the time you're trying to remove rust, scale or paint with sandblasting, another option, if you don't have enough air, is to look at one of these. This is a needle scaler. It doesn't use anywhere near as much air. It works very efficiently on the removal of paint, rust, scale and flaking rust. And you can use it from something like even any of your belt drive compressors would run this item. And that would be great for getting a lot of your loose scale and rust off. And if you had to then come along with a sandblaster, you'll get a lot more done without the use of having to worry about the quantity of air that you're going to be able to have to use because you haven't got a big enough compressor. So these are a good way to go, and then finish this lot into corners, and that's because these will go right into corners flat, and they just needle scale and just chip all the rust and paint away, and gives you like a very good surface to actually paint over again.